Hey everybody, how are you doing? So, got a few things with Parish news today. I'm not there, I'm somewhere else, so, but I know the usual things are going on. I bet you there's still tickets available for the Italian dinner on Sunday the 19th of February. And it's great, homemade pasta, it's so good, so I hope the tickets are going. What's the other big thing we got going? Oh, Lent's coming up. That's a little ways away yet. Ash Wednesday is February 22nd. This weekend is the Sermon on the Mount continues with you are the light of the world, you are the salt of the earth. It's a great thing. Jesus looks at us and sees what potential we have. Thinks we're like good seasoning for the world, or we can be. It's like salt is. I never understood how it says, what if salt loses its taste? I don't think salt can lose its taste, but because it's a chemical compound, right? NaCl. But anyway, he sees that we're important in the world and we're light of the world. Light is not supposed to be hidden under a basket, but it's set on a lampstand where it gives light to all in the room. And so that's good. And Father Parish is with you this weekend, so I'm sure he's going to say some really interesting things. He's a great priest. So, you know, where Jesus said that, you're the light of the world, you're the salt of the earth. This is Sunday morning, by the way, so it's not my midweek chat, but I'm not going to probably post it till later. So the Sermon on the Mount from the Mount of Beatitudes, it's just up there about 12 miles. So I'm not on Lake Wissota, I'm on the Sea of Galilee. Come on! Isn't that fun? I didn't get any sleep last night, so I look a little, but I'm real happy to be here, of course. Our pilgrims are having breakfast. I should probably get the pilgrims in the chat next time, but I thought I'd do a few more shorter chats while I'm here. I'll give you a quick look, and I'll give you a longer look at the end. But so it's been kind of cloudy and rainy, unfortunately. The sun comes up here like 6:30, and I wish I could do a sunrise chat over the Sea of Galilee. There's better places to do a chat, but this is really near our hotel. There's a land moving, if you hear clunking, there's a land moving machine over there. And then there's some boats over there that are commercial. When I was here 3 years ago, there's this commercial fishing area. And I told people all about it. You can walk out of the hotel, go there, and you can see the fishermen go out and for their catch with their nets and all that. And it's been locked up, and there's just a few boats there. So I don't know, things must have changed. Anyway, so yeah, that's something else. Boy, let's tell you some highlights of the trip maybe so far. We only had one day of really going to the holy sites yesterday. Today's our second day. But man, getting here was tough. One of our pilgrims wasn't on the bus, and we thought someone said she was on her way, so we didn't worry too much. But as we got some 10 minutes to departure time, well, I'll give her a call, you know. Hello, oh, hi, Father Tom. Hey, were you going to join us? Well, it's tomorrow, right? So she almost had a heart attack when we were leaving. Thought, oh, I got to but by good luck or whatever, she was kind of on the way to Chicago where she lives, and so we were able to take the big coach and drive into her neighborhood and pick her up 20 minutes after that phone call. So anyway, that was quite a way to begin. And then we get to the airport, and they're asking everybody for proof of health insurance. And they say that, and we had health insurance, but by some stroke of luck, I took my insurance card with me, but a lot of people didn't, and they were getting grilled, and they were panicking and trying to contact the clinic. Can you give me a copy of my insurance card? And it was just a real headache. The people in Chicago at the airlines would not let us check our bag through unless we could show we had insurance. It was just a headache. And I called the person that sold us the tickets. I'm like, well, you didn't tell us this. She goes, well, no, it's not even the case. And she went to the Israel Ministry of Health, and she goes, nobody's requiring that. And I said, well, the airline says. And so it was just real stressful for some of the pilgrims and myself. Like, aren't we going to be able to go? You know, all this kind of stuff. So, oh boy, you know, what a way to start, you know. And you can try to buy a policy online, but that was hard, and the websites weren't working, and oh my gosh. So that we all got landed here, and then we're just worried maybe, you know, when we get here, then they will be mad that we didn't have insurance. But I was starting to figure we could buy it. But so that was something else. Anyway, then we got here. In yesterday's tour, we went to Cana, wedding at Cana. Our couples did a people that were here with their spouses. We had a renewal ceremony, vow renewal, and we had a nice blessing for everybody else. Here to talk about people who came with their spouses' blessings, but their spouses weren't with them, and what an act of love that was, to not resent their absence for 15 days and to be able to take care of things at home so that they could experience this. And so beautiful. A lot of people in that situation. At the end, we acknowledge widows. And I remember the first trip I took here, my mom came. It was about 5 years after my dad had died, and we had a blessing for her and the other people that came whose husbands and wives had died in Cana, the wedding feast for Jesus' first miracle. Beautiful stuff. And then we had some, divorced and the single, the celibates, and we acknowledged, God working through all of us at this point in our lives, wherever we are, wherever time and events have brought us to. We're good enough for God to use, and so we sought that first day to have God's blessing and to use us as we are, to know we're loved as we are, and to help us move forward in life. So that's a nice way to start. Then we went to Nazareth, and Father Dines with us. He presided at Mass at the Basilica of the Annunciation, which is built over they call it Mary's house, or there's competing traditions of where the Annunciation happened, but the Catholics say it took place at her house, and there's like a cave that was like a first century house, and this whole church is built over that. And behind the grate, you can see an altar that says, what's it say? Verbum caro est factum. Anyway, it means the Word became flesh. And it might be like here the Word became flesh. In these holy sites, when you're saying Mass, it's like you'll say, in the fullness of time, Jesus was conceived in his mother's womb, in Mary's womb. But when you go to these holy sites, there's special prayers the church gives us that says, here, the Word of God was conceived in the womb of Blessed Mary, So it's like, oh, we're here, So, anyway, it was great, and then we came back, had dinner. The food's really good. We're in the city of Tiberias right now. We're kind of at the northern edge of it, and it's pretty warm. I heard it's super cold back in Eau Claire, so hope your pipes don't break and you're warm. And praying, your people brought their prayer intentions, and we're thinking of everybody that we know back there too. So it's really a pretty spirited group. I always say that what makes a successful pilgrimage is that everybody has their passport and that everybody loves one another, and we've seen a lot of that kindness, because everybody doesn't have the same physical abilities, everybody doesn't have the same level of ability to deal with anxiety or stress, and there's just been a lot of compassion that I've seen. It really gladdens my heart. So anyway, that's real good. Today we're going up to upshore a little bit. There's a church called Peter Primacy where after the resurrection, Jesus appeared and was cooking the fish on the shore. So there's a rock which commemorates that place, and there's a church built over that, and right on the shore. It's beautiful, beautiful place. And they call it Peter Primacy because that's where Jesus said to Peter, "Do you love me? Do you love me? Do you love me?" And Peter says, "Yes, yes, yes." And Jesus says, "Feed my sheep, feed my lambs, tend my sheep." And so kind of his commission to be the leader, right? The primacy of Peter. So that's beautiful. And then we're going to go across the street. I asked the guide, "Can we do this, or do we have to sneak away?" Because I just stumbled on it 3 years ago on my sabbatical. I didn't stumble on it. Someone told me to seek it out, and I found it. You go on this path up to the Mount of Beatitudes, which I talked about in church last week, and just off the path about 20 feet, there's this cave, and they call it the Eremos Cave, which is like Latin for hermit, like where a hermit could live. But it's where tradition holds Jesus went to, it sometimes says in the Bible, Jesus went by himself to pray or something like that. You say, well, that seemed like a likely spot if you lived in Capernaum. It's just this nice there's a lot of cats here. Place where you could go and pray by yourself and be alone. And it's just this cave overlooking the Sea of Galilee. It's very, very beautiful. So that, and then we're going to go to Capernaum, city of Capernaum. It's all quite close there. Walk around, read some scripture. We'll probably read the one about Capernaum where the cat, I don't have any food, pal. Where they take apart the roof and lower the paralyzed man down so Jesus can heal him. And there's a church there that looks like a lunar module, landing ship, like a spaceship. It's on these legs, and it's got a glass floor so you can look down at this archaeological dig. And they say it's St. Peter's house. Jesus lived in Capernaum too, so I'm not sure why they don't seem to claim that it's Jesus' house. But I mean, during his ministry, I think he lived there. I guess he was more not a long-time resident of Capernaum. Anyway, so how do they know it's St. Peter's house? And answer is they don't. Why did they think it's very plausible? Because as they were digging, they got down to one level, and it was an 8-sided structure. And that's a Christian thing. A lot of 8-sided smaller structures are baptism fonts. The 8th day is Easter, so you count the day week: Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. That's 7. 8th day, Sunday, resurrection, the new creation. So there's the 7 days of creation, and then the next is the new creation. So a lot of baptismal fonts, including the old stone one at St. James, I think, are 8-sided because of that. Anyway, they found this 8-sided structure, and I forget if there were inscriptions, but it led them to believe this is by far most likely, a place of Christian worship. So, and then they kind of kept digging, very carefully, and they found it was built on a house. So why would you build a place of worship on a house unless the person who lived there was super significant in the early church? So it makes sense to me. It's really kind of neat. The Church of Peter, this is called it's just in Capernaum, So it's pretty impressive, And then above will be the Mount of Beatitudes. We'll go that tomorrow, and the loaves and fishes multiplication. We want to have a mass outside on the shore. I think we will. If it's raining, I think there's some netting so you don't get wet. But we've been pretty lucky. Like, it rains when we're in the bus, and then when we get off, it stops. So I don't think God cares too much about the weather by and large, and yet it's kind of neat when you have that. So today we may just get soaked, and then what? See, if you bank on it's God's favor when the rain stops, if that's your interpretation of precipitation, then you're kind of out of luck when you get soaked. So, that's God's getting you soaked for some reason. So, I didn't know what else to say. I just want to kind of check in. I tried to set the stage. How about love one another and have your passports? Tried to set the stage. There's this great short story by Leo Tolstoy. Might have preached it in church once, but I can abbreviate it real quick. These two old guys from Russia. One is just this super caring, compassionate guy, not a lot of money because he tends to give it away. And the other one's a nice guy, but real kind of law and order, and his farm everything has to be just right, and he doesn't like to give anyone else control over it. He wants so they always promised when they were kids they would make a Holy Land pilgrimage. And so the first guy, whose name is Elisha, he's the good guy, and the normal guy, he's not a bad guy, it's called Ephim. And Elisha said, let's go on pilgrimage. We're getting old. We're not going to do this many years longer. And Ephim says, no, I got to maintain my farm. I can't. And he goes on. And anyway, he prevails, and they go. And basically on the way, Elisha says, I got to get some water. I'll be back in a minute. And when he gets some water, he meets his family in dire need, famine, and they're like dying in their house. And so he stays to care for them, and he doesn't come back and meet Ephim. And Ephim waits for him for like a couple days, and so, well, I don't know, maybe he passed me by and I'll see him in Jerusalem. So he leaves, and Elisha ends up staying there for like a month because they were literally on death's doorstep. And then all the money he had to fund his pilgrimage and the passage and boats and all that stuff, he gave away. He bought him a horse and food and a plow, so they could sustain themselves after he left. And so he didn't have anything. He said, well, I gotta go back home. I can't get far. So then Ephim gets to Jerusalem, and he's at this tomb, the tomb of Christ. At this tomb, he's at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, the tomb of Christ. And when you get there, it's very crowded. It was crowded. Tolstoy wrote that. When did he write? 1890 or something. later. Anyway, so he gets to but he's way in the back, and he looks up, and he sees Elisha there, right in the best spot. Like if you could pick a spot to be for this prayer service at the Holy Tomb, that's where you'd be. And there he is. He's like, how did he get there? And then after the service, he's looking all over for him, and he can't find him. Next day, he goes back. He's still way in the back. He looks up, and there's Elisha again. He's like, why do you get here? And then I think even a third time, and then he goes, well, I can't. I'm going to stand right by the door. There's only one door in and out of this place, which is true. And I'm going to just stand there until I find him. And he never finds him, So, and then he goes back home. And on the way, he meets his family that Elisha helped so much, and they described him, how they had helped him. He goes, I know someone from your area. He helped us. He saved our lives. And so the guy knew that he kind of figured out what happened, And it was fun when he was visiting them. They would say, oh, yeah, when he was here, he would sleep in that bed, and he put his bag down right here. And so they were trying to locate, like he was a holy man, kind of like here. Jesus was raised here. He healed the sick person here, multiplied the loaves here, So it's like they're seeing Christ in this guy, which they should have, because he was Christ to them. He saved them. And anyway, he kind of knows it. And he gets home and he says, hey, I never saw you. He goes, no, I never made it, And he never told the story. Elisha never told the story about how he spent all the money on this. He just said that he told his family he just ran out of money and had to come back. And the guy, Elisha, when he said, were you not there? And he goes, no, well, no, I had to turn around. Then he just changed the subject. He didn't want to, say what a good Christian hero he was. So, but, then it has this great reflection about who really made the pilgrimage, who really made it to Christ's tomb. Was it Ephraim, who was more always worried about, there were other details about him, people stealing his money and he wasn't sharing along the way, versus Elisha, who gave everything he had to save lives, And the point of the story was it was the guy who didn't make it to Jerusalem that was the great hero, who was really the closest to Christ. And the guy who did, and went to the Holy Tomb 3 nights in a row, was farther from Christ, because he didn't love like Christ. He didn't offer himself. So that was pretty good story that we heard. So it's a nice thing to start a pilgrimage, and maybe that helps set the tone. I think it's just like we have really good people on the trip, but they're really caring for each other well, and I love to see that. So I don't know. I went for a swim last night. It's cold. I don't know what the water temperature is, but it's cold. And I was the only one. Then another guy did. He said he wanted to make up for his sins. So he jumped in. He could only stand in for about a minute because it was so cold. But I seemed to like it. There was a pigeon, mourning dove. Okay. I'd give you a panorama, but there's not really much more to see than what you're looking at. There's the hotels right there, and then this over here. So I'll hopefully give you another shot before long. I'll just mention this. There used to be a lot more Christians in the Holy Land than there are now. There's a lot of factors about that. I think Christians in the Holy Land, meaning like Israel and the occupied territories, I think Rami said, our guide, about 1.5%. And the one factor I didn't even think of, why the kind of church is going down, is the younger people. So it's a multi-ethnic cultural society. That's what's so fascinating about it. But so on Friday, things closed down for the Muslims, because that's their holy day, kind of like our Sunday. And on Saturday, things are closed down for the Jewish people. It's their Sabbath. And so that's like 2 days where businesses aren't open. And the Christians are working for them. So they're, Sunday's a work day. There's Sunday here is like our Monday, and so it's hard it's more challenging to go to church on Sunday, I guess is what I'm saying. So I never would have thought about that. So anyway, we're here and we're trying to support the Christian people here by using their buses and agencies and guides, and it's been going real well. So we'll continue to pray for you. Hope you pray for us. Some people are worried about our safety. I don't think anyone's thought about that at all since we've landed. So God bless you. And I'll just let you look at the Sea of Galilee for a little bit, huh? Oh, on my knees. Okay, sorry. Sorry that land moving machine's so loud, but I don't know what they're doing. This is holy ground. I'm standing on holy ground. He walked on this ground, and so this ground is holy. This is holy ground. We're standing on holy ground. He walked on this ground, and so this ground is holy. God bless you.